Why did you click on this video? Because deep down, you already feel stuck in the same loop every single day. You wake up with energy and intention. You tell yourself today will be different. Today I will focus. Today I will complete my work. Today I will fix my life. But as the day moves forward, everything slowly slips away. Distractions take over your attention. Procrastination quietly wins again. And by the end of the day, nothing meaningful has changed. Your goals remain unfinished. Your plans stay on paper. And you go to sleep with a silent frustration that tomorrow will probably look the same. Most people think the solution is doing more. More discipline, more motivation, more routines, more information. So they keep adding new habits on top of a life that is already overloaded. But this is exactly where the problem begins. Because your mind does not get stronger when you keep adding more pressure to it. It gets confused. It gets tired of choosing. And eventually, it stops choosing at all. That is why even smart and hardworking people stay stuck for years. Not because they lack effort, but because they are trying to win the game in the wrong way. The most successful people on the planet do something very different. They do not constantly ask, how do I become successful? They ask a more dangerous and more powerful question. What is destroying my progress? What habits are silently holding me back? And how do I eliminate them completely? This way of thinking is called the rule of inversion. Instead of focusing only on building success, they focus on removing failure. Because removing what is broken is often easier than building something perfect. Think about it. If your life is a system and it is not working properly, adding more pressure will not fix it. You first need to identify what is stopping the system from working. One small blockage can stop the entire flow. That is exactly how human behavior works. A few negative habits can control your entire future, and you might not even notice them because they feel normal. This is where most people stay blind. They focus on big goals, but ignore the small, daily actions that are quietly shaping their life in the wrong direction. The rule of inversion forces you to look at reality differently. Instead of asking, what should I start doing? You start asking, what should I stop doing immediately? And once you shift into this mindset, everything begins to simplify. Your decisions become clearer, your mind becomes lighter, and your actions become more focused. Before we continue, make sure you are subscribed to SM Motivation. If you are serious about building discipline and improving your life step by step, this channel is built for you. Like this video if you are ready to change your thinking. And now let us go deeper into how this actually works in real life. Now let's break this down in a real way you can actually use. Most people think success is about adding something new to their life. A new habit, a new skill, a new routine. But in reality, the fastest transformation happens when you remove what is damaging you. Think about a car with the handbrake pulled up. You can press the accelerator harder and harder, but the car will still struggle to move. That is exactly how most people live their lives. They try to push forward while their bad habits are holding them back at the same time. And because they cannot see these invisible brakes clearly, they blame themselves for not being disciplined enough. But discipline is not always the problem. Clarity is the real problem. Once you see what is slowing you down, the solution becomes simple. That is where the rule of inversion becomes powerful in real life. Instead of asking what new habit should I build, you ask what is currently destroying my focus, my time, and my energy. Let's make it practical. There are usually a few silent habits that destroy most people's progress. Endless phone scrolling without purpose, postponing important tasks again and again, consuming content all day but taking no action, spending time in low-value distractions that feel harmless in the moment. These are not dramatic problems, but they are powerful enough to control your entire future. Because small leaks can sink a big ship, and most people never realize that their biggest enemy is not lack of time or lack of opportunity. It is uncontrolled behavior repeated every single day. Now here is the shift that changes everything. Instead of trying to fix your whole life at once, you start by removing just one major negative habit. Not 5, not 10, just one. Because once you remove one major distraction, your mind instantly feels lighter. Your focus improves without force. Your energy comes back naturally. And suddenly, work that felt difficult becomes easier to start. This is how real progress begins. Not by adding pressure, but by removing resistance. And when you understand this deeply, you stop chasing motivation. You start designing your environment in a smarter way. You reduce friction for good habits and increase friction for bad habits. That is how you slowly regain control of your attention. And in today's world, attention is everything. Where your attention goes, your life follows. Before we move forward, you need to understand something even more important. Most people fail not because they lack knowledge, but because they keep repeating the same patterns every day. Your results are not created by your big decisions. They are created by your small daily actions. And those small actions are often automatic. You do not even think about them anymore. You wake up and instantly reach for your phone. You delay your hardest task until later in the day. You avoid discomfort and choose what feels easy instead. And at the end of the day, you wonder why nothing is changing. This is where the rule of inversion becomes extremely practical. Instead of trying to force discipline all day, you design your day to avoid failure from the start. You remove the triggers that pull you into distraction. You reduce access to things that steal your attention. You make bad behavior harder and good behavior easier. For example, if your biggest problem is distraction, you do not try to become more focused. You remove the source of distraction. If your problem is procrastination, you do not wait for motivation. You start by reducing the distance between you and your work. If your problem is inconsistency, you do not add more goals. You remove the habits that break your consistency. This is a completely different way of thinking. Most people build their life by addition, but successful people also use subtraction. They remove anything that does not align with their direction, because every unnecessary habit is not just neutral. It is costing you time, energy, and focus. And those three things are your most valuable assets. When you start thinking this way, your life becomes simpler. You stop feeling overwhelmed by endless goals. You stop chasing every new idea. And you start focusing on what actually matters. Because clarity does not come from doing more. It comes from removing what is unnecessary. Now let's turn this into something practical you can apply immediately. Start by asking yourself a very honest question. What are the few habits that are quietly destroying my progress every single day? Not in theory, but in real life. Things that you know are wasting your time. Things that you repeat even when you know they are not helping you. For most people, the answer is very simple. Too much phone usage, avoiding difficult tasks, lack of structure in the day, and constant distraction switching from one thing to another. You do not need a complicated plan to fix this. You need awareness and removal. Pick just one habit that is creating the biggest damage in your life right now. Not everything at once, just one. Then focus on removing it completely or reducing it as much as possible. Because when you remove one major source of distraction, something interesting happens. Your mind starts to settle. Your focus improves naturally. Your energy feels less scattered, and tasks that once felt heavy start feeling manageable again. This is the power of subtraction. You are not adding discipline. You are removing resistance. And once resistance is reduced, progress becomes automatic. Now, apply this thinking to your daily routine. Instead of planning a perfect day full of goals, start by deciding what you will not do. Do not check your phone during work time. Do not delay important tasks. Do not jump between multiple distractions. These simple boundaries protect your focus more than any motivation ever will. Because motivation changes daily, but structure controls behavior. And when your behavior is controlled, your results start changing without forcing them. This is why the rule of inversion works so well. It does not rely on inspiration. It relies on elimination. And elimination is something you can control immediately. Now take this even deeper and apply it at the level of your identity. Most people try to change their life by forcing new habits. But habits are not the real foundation. Your identity is. If you see yourself as someone who is distracted, you will act distracted. If you see yourself as someone who delays work, you will keep delaying work. If you see yourself as someone who is inconsistent, you will keep breaking your own plans. So instead of asking what new habit should I build, ask a better question. What kind of person am I becoming because of my current habits? The rule of inversion helps you answer this honestly because it forces you to look at what your habits are actually building in the long run. Not what you hope for, but what is really happening. Every small action is shaping your identity. Every distraction is reinforcing a pattern. Every avoided task is training your brain to avoid responsibility. And every time you choose comfort over discipline, you are slowly building a weaker version of yourself. This is why removing bad habits is so powerful, because when you remove the behavior, you slowly remove the identity attached to it. You stop being the person who gets distracted. You stop being the person who delays work. You stop being the person who depends on motivation. And naturally, a new identity starts forming. A focused person, a disciplined person, a person who follows through. Not because you forced it, but because you removed what was stopping it from emerging. This is the hidden power most people never realize. Change does not always come from adding something new. Sometimes it comes from finally letting go of what is wrong. And when you do that consistently, your entire direction in life starts to shift without extreme effort. You stop fighting yourself and you start working with clarity instead of confusion. Now let's bring everything together into a simple system you can actually use every day. Do not overcomplicate this. You do not need 10 goals. You do not need a perfect schedule. You do not need a new identity overnight. You only need a clear process of elimination. Start your day with one simple question. What is the one thing I must avoid today to protect my future? Not what should I add, not what should I achieve, but what should I avoid? This single shift changes your focus immediately, because now your attention is not scattered across everything you could do. It is focused on protecting your time and energy. Next, create what you can call a failure list. This is not a to-do list. This is a not-to-do list. Write down the behaviors that ruin your productivity. Things like unnecessary phone usage, delaying important work, switching tasks without finishing anything, wasting time on low-value distraction. This list becomes your warning system. Every time you drift, it brings you back. Now, take it one step further. Set one rule for your day. A simple boundary that protects your focus. For example, no phone during work for the first 60 minutes, or no social media until your most important task is complete, or no multitasking while working. These rules are not restrictions. They are protection. They protect your future from your impulses. And when you follow them, something powerful happens. Your mind becomes calmer, your actions become sharper, and your progress becomes more consistent, because success is not built in moments of extreme motivation. It is built in moments of controlled behavior. And when you consistently remove what is holding you back, you no longer need to chase success. It starts coming naturally from the structure you created. Now, there is one final shift you need to understand if you really want long-term change. Most people think willpower is the key to discipline, but willpower is weak. It runs out quickly. It depends on your mood, your energy, and your environment. That is why people stay motivated for a few days and then fall back into old habits. The real solution is not stronger willpower. It is smarter environment design. If your environment constantly pushes you toward distraction, you will keep losing focus no matter how motivated you feel. But if your environment makes distraction difficult and focus easy, Discipline becomes natural. This is another form of the rule of inversion. Instead of trying to force yourself to behave better, you remove the conditions that allow bad behavior. Make distraction harder to access. Make work easier to start. Reduce friction for important tasks. Increase friction for useless habits. Small changes in your environment create massive changes in your behavior. For example, if your phone is always next to you, you will keep checking it. But if you place it in another room, your behavior automatically changes. If your workspace is messy and distracting, your focus will drop. But if your space is clean and simple, your mind becomes clearer. You are not fighting your mind. You are guiding it. And when your environment supports your goals, you stop needing constant motivation. Now, here is the final truth. You do not need a completely new life. You do not need a perfect routine. You do not need endless motivation. You only need to remove what is breaking your progress. Because once you remove what is holding you back, what remains will naturally move you forward. This is the real power of the rule of inversion. And if you apply it consistently, your life will not just improve. It will simplify, stabilize, and finally start moving in the direction you actually want. Let's quickly bring everything together. The rule of inversion is simple. Stop focusing only on what you want to achieve. Start focusing on what is holding you back. Because most people fail not from lack of knowledge, but from repeated small actions that quietly destroy their progress. When you remove those actions, everything starts to change on its own. Your mind becomes clearer. Your focus becomes stronger. And your life stops feeling like a constant struggle. You do not need to become a different person overnight. You just need to stop doing the things that are keeping you stuck. That is where real transformation begins. Not by adding more pressure, but by removing what does not belong in your life. If you apply even a part of this thinking consistently, you will start noticing a shift in how you work, how you think, and how you move through your day. Your next level starts when you stop doing what is holding you back.